He has been a bulwark for all seasons. Some people call him Perry, some people call him Christie, some people call him Prime Minister. But he is our friend. He is a brother now who will help us to remold, reshape, refuel, recommission one program at a time. I'm asking all of you, wherever you are in this building, to join me in welcoming our guest speaker on the special Diamond Jubilee. The man who will take us into another season, Perry Gladstone Christie, the son of one Christie. Of our 60th occasion, Perry Gladstone Christie.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Yes. Yes.
I'm going to have to begin by a little kind of apology. Trevor, I beg your pardon. Let me get this right.
Brother Wiley.
State President. Let me get this right. Your State President, your illustrious State President, indicated to me this afternoon that I was speaking this evening. And I said, where? And apparently my office had received the invitation appropriately sent, and had failed to advise me, and not having confirmed that I was coming, left it on the basis that I would not be coming. And of course I knew nothing about it. So when he told me, I tried to indicate to him that I was battling through symptoms and was finding it exceedingly difficult today, because last week those same young people were participating in an affair, and I stayed out 3 o'clock one morning and the following morning till 5 a.m. and trying to mix pleasure with business. Didn't quite work, too much pleasure. My business brought me with low resistance to a point where I wasn't feeling up to par. And so Trevor did not allow me to use that as an excuse. And so I decided, well, I better suck it up as an honorary elk. I said I would stay in my office, and whenever you were ready for me, I would work until it was time to come here. So not only am I kind of sick, I'm also hungry. But I really want you to know that for me it's always a pleasure to expose myself to living history. And I'm going to tell you what it means. Those of you who are ELKS, notwithstanding your international connection, must always try to remember your history. And tonight, as I look out at the audience, I think of your history through people who I have known, like Kingsley Wilson, Wealthy Gomez, Mr. and Mrs. Urban Boswick, people who were defining personalities in the orderly progression of ELKS in the Bahamas, who through their involvement and their stature in our country gave you and continue to give you prominence in their own leadership. And then when we look specifically at the history, we see that these players also played a leading role in the march to majority rule, which arguably is one of the most significant accomplishments in our history, where events in our country changed significantly to allow in the ushering in of freedom, and to the presence of Americans in the House of Color. Our march to majority rule paralleled that of march led by Dr. Martin Luther King, where we were feeding off the agitation for freedom, not only in the United States of America, but in the Caribbean and in Africa, where the colonies were shaking off their inertia and seeking independence, and where those who were our leaders had come home from university and joined up with those who were here. So Pending and Hammer joined with Stevenson and Butler and Taylor. And the names of those persons who led the march throughout this country for people of color to free themselves from oppression that existed at the time. The ELKS were prominent in that march. The ELKS were prominent in exercising leadership and instilling in the minds of people what freedom meant. The suffragette movement, women of the ELKS, were the foundation of the march for women getting the right to vote in this country. Those who were famous for being in the leadership with Dr. Doris Johnson. But many of those women signed the petitions courageously, demanding their rights. And you may ask, well, that's history. That's gone. But the challenge of every country is to keep before new generations of the country how they got where they are. Amen. Why they should not take the freedoms they have for granted. And those of you who are senior members of the ELKS, you should feel good about the message that your state president just gave you about reinvigorating branches. I could have given you the answer of Eureka. I might not have said 1903, but I said near the turn of the century. Because when I was growing up, I used to look forward to my daddy taking us out to watch the marching. And the pride. In recent years, I had to rely on one of your reverend distinguished members bragging about being an elk from the pulpit. Which as an Anglican priest, to me is relatively speaking an extraordinary position. in this Lone Ranger type commitment he has. When I see RT.HON, who has already given the best of its service to this country, still lifting his legs and coming out, still by what I see in this program, participating and giving service, when he has every reason to sit back and say, I have given my best of service to this organization I cherish. But he, I guess, like the old General Douglas MacArthur, old soldiers never die. They fade away gently and slowly. So keep on keeping on, Brother Yah. Ladies and gentlemen, we move to the present day. I was encouraged to hear State President WHYLLY speak about what was happening in New Providence with breathing new life into membership. If only because you're an institution that has impacted positively this country in so many different ways, through so many different personalities. And sometimes it's important to light some candles for departing members. And remember, those of us who are in political life, we close our eyes and we look in the seats before us, and we see major contributors, no different here than to you tonight. And so, this whole aspect of young people today, many years ago, I called the Commissioner of Police and said, I've been walking through a new constituency that has been given to me. Mason's Addition and Fort Hill. And what I see tells me I should do something for young people. And I started something called Urban Renewal. Those young people are part of that. The teacher, stand up for me, is a police officer. But they have some gifts. And so I'm happy that the state president has asked me to use whatever influence I have on the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Tourism and his ministers. I presume that he wants some tickets to New Orleans. I don't know if you have within the powers vested in you as a body, you have the power to take me out of being an honorary ELK and making me a real ELK. I want to be able to tell you, this is testing ground for me giving you the commitment